Okay, guys, this is our Assessment 1 demo. I'm going to show you how to do the typeset specifications. So for this assignment, you're going to be setting a page of type to some very detailed specifications. The text is provided for you if you download the link under the Assessment 1. Using InDesign, this is the program we're going to be designing in, you're going to follow the specifications that you're given exactly. You're not going to be graded on any type of creativity for this assessment, only how well you understand the terminology and the typesetting tools. So make sure you follow the specifications very carefully and kind of double check yourself. First things first, we're going to set up a new document. So if you go to File, New, click on Document. You're going to deselect facing pages. You won't need that. That's only if you're going to design a book or a magazine or need pages side by side. But in this case, we only need one page and we don't need pages side by side. So the number of pages will be 1. Then the page size will be letter, 8.5 by 11. This is your standard size. And over here on the right, you're going to set your orientation to portrait. The columns need to be 2 columns and your gutter stays the same. It's just your default setting. So it should say 0.1667 inches. For the margins, you're going to want to set them to 0.5 inches. All of the margins should be the same right here. You can click this preview box here to show you the display of what your document will look like before you hit OK. And if all looks all right, you can just hit the button OK. So this is the basic how you set up the document. And like I mentioned before, the text is provided to you in the download link under the Assessment 1. It's a Word document that you're going to download, so you don't have to worry about content. All we're going to need to do is flow the content in. A few things that we want to set up first is our baseline grid. So what we're going to do, there's 2 ways of doing it. So View will show you what a baseline grid is, and you'll click on Show Baseline Grid. It looks and resembles notebook paper. So just like the purpose of notebook paper is it helps us write on that blue baseline and keeps everything straight and on the same line, it's the same purpose here in InDesign. Now, sometimes it's hard to design in the baseline grid view, so you can go back to View and click on Grids and Guides, Hide Baseline Grid. You can hide it once you've set it up, but what we need to do first is make sure that everything is lining up correctly. So we're going to grab our text. I'm going to draw 2 columns, or actually 3 boxes. The first box will be a horizontal box where the title of my article will go in. The next one, I'm going to click and drag with my type tool in the first column, and I want it to touch the bottom of that purple magenta margin line. The next box, I'm going to click and drag over here. The idea here is to make sure that your text box does not exceed that purple margin line. So I'm going to make sure it fits, and then I want to make sure that my smart guides are turned on so that I can make sure each column or each text box is the same size. You can also just copy, hit Command C, Command V if you're on a Mac, or Control C, Control V if you're on a PC, and just copy and paste the box that you just drew so that you can make sure that the dimensions are all the same. So this is what it should look like. If you go to View, Grids and Guides, make sure your smart guides are turned on and make sure Snap to Guides is turned on. And what this does is it will lock into place when you have centered or aligned something properly. This helps you be able to line up your text boxes so some aren't longer or shorter than others. You can actually line them up together. Next, we want to go into InDesign Preferences. Up at the top of your InDesign file, it says InDesign CC. You're going to click on Preferences, and then you're going to go down, scroll down until you get to Grids. When you click on Grids, it's going to bring up your Preferences box. And this is where you're going to set up your baseline grid, okay? Everything stays the same essentially, except the increment every value will be 14. All right, this is important, and we need to remember this because when we set up our leading for our font, we're going to want to make sure that our increment and our leading values are the same. Otherwise, it won't line up with our baseline grid. So then here below, we want to set it to 50%, our view threshold to 50%. Everything else should stay the same, should be defaulted. You can hit OK. Now, what does this mean? It doesn't mean much yet, but I'm going to go to View and go to Grids and Guides, and I'm going to show my baseline grid. Now, it's a lot's going on here, but I'm going to click in my first text box. Here at the bottom, as you can see, there is a larger white anchor point. It's not my corner anchor point, it's the one on top. If I click this, you'll notice how my mouse, my mouse changed. It's showing like a silhouette of text. I'm just gonna click in the next box. And what that does is, you see that little triangle here at the top left? What that means is these two text boxes are linked now. So now I can flow text into them and they'll link up. So I'm going to double click my cursor in the first text box. You can see it blinking right here. I'm going to go to File, Place, and I'm going to go find that Word document that I downloaded from the Assessment 1 link. Okay, it's called the Art of Typesetting. I'll click on the Word document and I'll hit Open. And what it's going to do is it's going to flow my text into both columns, okay? Don't worry about, here at the bottom there's a red plus sign. That means there's text that you can't see and you need to make some adjustments so that you can fit it in the columns. We'll work on the formatting in just a minute. First thing we need to do is I'm going to cut and paste the title of the article in the top line. And I'm going to get rid of that space here at the top. I'm going to format my headline, because that's the next thing in line, and it needs to be Arial. So you can pull up your character and paragraph windows. If you go to Window, type in Tables, Character, and then go to Window, type in Tables, Paragraph. These are the two boxes that we're going to be working with a lot. So let's start with the character. Here I can adjust my font family. It's supposed to be Arial Narrow. You can manually enter it in, or you can just scroll down with the drop-down menu. Arial Narrow, and then it needs to be bold. The font size needs to be 61, and the tracking needs to be 10. All right, and then you want to center a line. So in my paragraph control box, I can hit Align Center. So it now centers that. And then you just create and apply the following paragraph style. So for the body copy, so this is all we need for the headline. We're done with that. Now our body copy, if you click in your text box, anywhere in your text box, you'll see your cursor blinking. Hit Command A if you're on a Mac, or Control A if you're on a PC, and that will highlight all the text, even the hidden text here at the bottom, and then you can format it from here. So now we need to format the body copy. So it needs to be Times New Roman, and it needs to be regular. So Times New Roman regular. The font size needs to be 10, and the tracking needs to be 14. Remember that important number that we talked about, because when we set up our grids and guides in our baseline grid, our increment every was 14. That was the value. Our leading needs to match that. So now look at my text. Now I'm going to zoom in here. You can see that it's not all lined up. It's kind of floating up here. All right, so not everything is lined up correctly. So we're going to zoom out, and I'm going to click these two. I'm going to go over to my paragraph. And notice how this icon is selected. It says do not align to baseline grid. We don't want that selected. Here at the bottom under the paragraph control settings, paragraph formatting controls, we want to click on align to baseline grid. So now when we do that, all the font should line up with the base of that blue line. So now you can see everything lies flush on the blue lines exactly. They line up perfectly, and that's what we're looking for. Once you have adjusted this and it all looks correct, you can hit Window and or View, and you can hide the baseline grid view so that you can kind of see what you're doing. All right, so now we've changed the body copy to Times New Roman regular. We have aligned all the lines to the baseline grid, and now we're going to do a drop cap. So we're going to highlight this, and under the character controls, or I'm sorry, not the character controls, the paragraph box, there is a place. If you hover your mouse over these tools, it will tell you what they are. This is your drop cap here at the bottom. It says to increase it 3 lines, 1, 2, 3, and then apply to the first paragraph only. So that's what we did here. Okay, so we didn't apply it anywhere else. Now we need to include the subheadings. So there are only two subheadings. Setting type is one of them. And in my character box, I'm going to go to Arial Narrow, Bold, and then the font size is 14, tracking is 10. Okay. And then it asks, oh, in the body copy, it also asks to add a 0.1 of an inch space after the paragraphs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my paragraph control. Here, there is a tool called Space After. Right here, I think it's the second box on the far right. And if you increase it or type in the value 0.125, it will put a break in that paragraph for you. We're going to need to do that for each one, okay? So 0.125. In each one, each paragraph break, you're going to need to include it. Or you can highlight it and click on 0.125. Oops. For some reason, it's squeaking out. Sorry, give me a second. 0.125. There we go. All right, and then we don't need a space between the headline and the actual paragraph, so we're going to set that to 0. Okay. Same with this headline. This is Arial Narrow Bold 14, leading is 10, and then this just needs to be set to 0. Okay, so far we've got that. Now for the subheadings, we also need to have centered align. So we'll center align each one. And I'm just reading here, it looks like we need to set the value between the headline and the next paragraph to a different value. It's 0.0625. Oops, and that value I'm just gonna do that, 0.0625. Perfect. Okay, now that we have that set, you're going to go to the subheadings. Now this, we've already done the subheading. Do not align to baseline grid, so don't worry about this aligning exactly. Now we just need to work on the bullets. Now the bullets start here. I'm going to highlight all of the bullets, and there is a place under the character formatting controls on the far right, and on my screen you can see the bullets right here. I'm going to click bullet list, and this is going to be the same size as the body copy, but we want a 1/8 of an inch in tab position, so you don't want any space after the paragraph's added. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to 0 that out, and then we're let's see, what else did we need to do? Oh, an 1/8 of an inch tab position. Here we go. Okay. And I'm going to line up these bullets. Eighth of an inch. Okay. Let me highlight that one more time. Sorry, it just takes a minute to kind of get everything set up. There we go. Okay, and then create a character style and apply it to the first word only in each bullet. So the character style that we're going to create is, oh, I forgot to format this one as well. I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool and highlight this. So I'm going to highlight the first font family here, and the character style, it doesn't specify what you want it to. Oh, it says Times New Roman bold. So we're going to go to bold, and then it asks for font size 10, leading 14. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to go to Window, Styles, Character Styles. What we're going to do is set up preset character styles that we can use in the future. So I'm going to click New, Character Style 1, and this is going to be my bullet heading. I'm going to label it, and then I'll hit OK. And now I can highlight the next bullet heading with my eyedropper tool and select the character style I just labeled, and that will help me, format this a lot easier and a lot faster. So I'm highlighting each headline and clicking on that character style that I just created. Highlight and click. Just like that. Okay. All right. So now all we have to really worry about is the byline. And the byline just needs to be Times New Roman italic, 8 point. So I need to make sure that this all lines up. So we're going to highlight this, make sure they're all selected. There we go. Oops. Make sure my bullets same as the body copy. No space after the paragraphs added. Okay, perfect. So I think we've got that all lined up. There we go. Just going to get rid of this space here. And then I'm going to double click this byline here at the bottom. We're going to do Times New Roman italic and select 8 point font. And we want it right aligned. And then we're going to select the text starting with the font families to the right before the byline for the bulleted list. So I'm going to start with oops. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to highlight this. Hang on, it's giving me some trouble. 1 second. Okay. All right, and then everything is lined up. It should look similar to this. If you have any other questions, you can email me or just ask me in the multi-session. Just remember, keep the design principles and good composition rules in mind. You want to keep all the text within the margins, and you want to align the text boxes. When you submit your assignment, you're going to name your file DES 113, Assessment 1, first and last. So you go to File, Save As, DES 113, Assessment 1, first, last, and that's an InDesign file. So you'll hit save. And then we're going to export our InDesign file to a PDF. So we're going to go to File, Export. Here at the bottom, we'll select PDF print for the format. You'll hit save. And then you're going to submit both the native InDesign and the PDF for grading. So just best practices is always keep all of your native and working files that you use to create a project. You're going to need these when you reach your portfolio or your capstone course anyways, but when you continue with this best practice, it's good practice for when a client may want to reprint and make changes on an existing project, or if your instructor says, hey, make these changes and then resubmit it for more points. It's always a good time to be able to go back to your project later on and keep your editable file. For the PDF preset, you're going to want to set this to smallest file size, and then you'll hit export and it will generate a PDF for you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, but this should be a quick and easy way to set up your Assessment 1. I hope you guys, I hope this is a little bit easier for you, and I hope you enjoy the assignment. We'll see you later.